"Carol, can I kiss you?" The moment I asked, a warmth bloomed deep inside me, a feeling I thought had been buried for good. "David," she whispered, her voice barely audible, "isn't it strange to feel this way, at our age?" I didn't let her finish. I gently silenced her worries by leaning in and pressing my lips to hers. The touch was soft, hesitant, yet full of a lifetime of unspoken longing. It was a warmth that spread through my entire body, waking every part of me that had been dormant for so long. Carol's arms wrapped around my neck, pulling me closer, asking for a deeper connection. "David," she breathed against my mouth, "I feel, my whole body is on fire." My hand found its way to the small of her back, tracing gentle circles. She let out a soft sigh and trembled in my arms. "Carol, I don't know how much longer I can hold back," I confessed, my voice thick with emotion. I took her hand and placed it over my heart, letting her feel the frantic rhythm. "It's beating so fast, and, well, other parts of me are waking up, too." Her eyes widened in surprise, then a shy, beautiful smile spread across her face. "So, it really does still happen, even at our age." "Of course, it does," I murmured, my voice husky. "You're driving me crazy, Carol. I haven't felt like this I can't even remember how long. To think that a man who believed he could never love again after losing the wife I'd spent 30 years with, could find himself in a place like this, in a cozy little inn nestled in the mountains, with a woman who had somehow pieced my broken heart back together. Is it possible for a love that starts this late in life to have a happy ending? My name is David, and I'm 62 years old. This story begins 2 years after I said my final goodbye to my wife. For 30 years, I ran a small, family-owned print shop in New York City. I lived a simple, ordinary life with my wife, Susan, and our son. But then, out of nowhere, Susan was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. After a grueling year and a half of fighting, she left me, alone in a world that suddenly felt empty. The apartment we'd shared in the city felt cavernously large without her. Night after night, I'd stare at the empty side of the bed, sleep becoming a stranger. The silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. So when my friend Tom suggested a long-term stay at a quiet bed and breakfast in the Green Mountains of Vermont, I didn't hesitate. My son was in graduate school out on the West Coast, so there was nothing really keeping me in New York. I packed a single suitcase and left. It was the beginning of autumn. I took the Amtrak Vermonter from Grand Central, and for 3 hours, I watched the city skyline melt away into rolling hills. The mountains outside the train window were just beginning to blush with the colors of fall, fiery reds and brilliant golds. I remembered the last trip Susan and I took to the countryside, not far from here. I had hoped the fresh, clean air would bring some life back into her, but she was exhausted from the chemo. She grew anxious being so far from her doctors, and we turned back after just one day. After arriving in Brattleboro, I took a small local bus that wound its way deeper into the mountains, until I finally reached a small village. A charming, hand-carved wooden sign that read, "The Pine Ridge Inn," greeted me. As I stepped off the bus and pulled my luggage along the gravel path, the air felt completely different. Instead of the exhaust fumes of the city, my lungs filled with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. I pushed open the gate and saw a woman in the front yard, gathering laundry from a clothesline. She looked to be in her late 50s, with a tidy, graceful way about her, dressed in a simple, clean dress. She heard my footsteps and turned. Her face was calm and gentle, with kind eyes that held a hint of a story I didn't yet know. "Hello," I said, I'm David. I called about the room. Oh, yes. The gentleman from New York, she said, her voice warmer than I expected. Welcome. I'm so glad you made it. She set down her laundry basket and walked toward me with a warm smile. My name is Carol. I run this place. Her voice was steady and comforting. The neatly tended garden and the clean, welcoming porch already made me feel at ease. You came alone? She asked. Yes, I replied. Just me. In that brief exchange, in the way we both paused after the word, alone, I felt we understood something about each other. We were both navigating a world built for two, by ourselves. Carol glanced at my suitcase and then gestured toward the inn. Why don't you see the room first? If it's not to your liking, I can help you find another place nearby. Her kindness was a welcome surprise. It's not something you find much anymore. The room she showed me was clean and cozy. The window looked out onto a backyard that sloped up into a hill covered in trees just beginning to turn. On one side of the room was a small desk and a chair, and on the other, a single bed and a small, tidy wardrobe. The bathroom is down the hall, and there's a separate shower room, she explained. It's perfect, I said, feeling a sense of relief wash over me. I'll take it. Carol smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. What time would you like dinner? Oh, you don't have to worry about that for me. Nonsense, she insisted gently. It's no trouble to set another plate. I'll make something simple. That evening, over a dinner of homemade chicken noodle soup, I learned a little of Carol's story. She'd lost her husband 5 years ago in a car accident and had been running the inn by herself ever since. It was his dream, really, she said, a faint wistfulness in her voice. He was a civil servant, and after he retired, he wanted to try something new, out in the country. She mentioned she was 58, her smile a little shy, and it was incredibly endearing. My kids are all grown and living in the city, she added. They only come down for holidays, really. Slowly, I began to share my own story. I lost my wife 2 years ago, I told her. Pancreatic cancer. Carol put down her fork and nodded slowly, her eyes full of a deep, quiet understanding. That must have been so difficult. How have you been managing on your own? The nights are the hardest, I admitted. The silence in the house, it's deafening. I know exactly what you mean, she said, her voice soft. This old house feels so big and empty at night. Her words struck a chord deep within me. It was a moment of connection, a shared understanding of that specific, hollow ache that only those who live alone truly know. After dinner, Carol brought out 2 mugs of chamomile tea. I grew the chamomile myself, she said. It's good for you. Drink up. We sat on the porch, sipping our tea and looking up at the sky. The stars were brilliant, a glittering blanket strewn across the darkness, more than I had ever seen in the city. I'm glad I came here, I said, meaning it more than anything I'd said in years. At first, I was terrified, she confessed, her face illuminated by the soft moonlight. Living out here all by myself. In that light, I noticed the elegant lines of her face, the quiet strength she carried. That night, for the first time in a long time, I slept soundly. The gentle chirping of crickets and the rustling of the wind in the trees were a far more soothing lullaby than the sirens of New York. On my 3rd day, a sudden downpour started in the morning. I looked out my window and saw Carol rushing to get the laundry off the line. I hurried outside to help, but just as I reached the porch, she slipped on a patch of wet autumn leaves. "Oh," she cried out, her voice sharp with pain. "My ankle." She crumpled to the ground, her face contorted. I rushed to her side and helped her up. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" As she leaned on my arm, I felt a strange jolt. It had been so long since I'd felt the warmth of a woman's body pressed against mine. "I'm sorry," she said, trying to pull away. "I'm fine, you can let go." "No, no. Let me help you inside," I insisted, keeping a steady arm around her. I supported her as we walked slowly back into the house. As I helped her to a chair, I caught the faint, clean scent of her shampoo. I took a look at her ankle. It was already starting to swell. "Do you have an ice pack or some ointment?" "In the bathroom cabinet," she said, wincing. I brought back a tube of muscle rub and gently began to apply it to her ankle. She flinched and let out a small gasp. "Am I hurting you? Did I press too hard?" "No," she said, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "It just tickled." I saw the pink rise in her face, and in that moment, for the first time, I saw her not just as a kind innkeeper, but as a woman. I noticed her neatly kept hands, the delicate curve of her ankle. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Living alone, it's hard to get help with things like this." "It's the least I can do," I replied. "You've been making me wonderful meals every day." That evening, I made a simple soup and some toast for our dinner. Carol was surprised and touched. "I didn't know you could cook so well," she said. "I got a lot of practice when my wife was sick," I explained. A quiet fell over the room. "You must have loved her very much," Carol said softly. "I did," I answered. "We were together for 30 years. "You're lucky," she said, a sad smile on her face. "We only had 10. We spent the rest of the evening sharing memories, both painful and sweet, and as the night deepened, I felt the distance between us shrinking. From that day on, something had shifted. About a week later, a fierce storm rolled in over the mountains. The rain started in the afternoon and grew heavier as night fell. We had just finished dinner and were in our separate rooms when suddenly, the power went out. The entire house was plunged into darkness and a profound silence, broken only by the storm. "David? Are you all right?" I heard Carol's voice call from the hallway. "I'm fine. How about you?" "I'll bring you a candle." A few moments later, she appeared at my door, holding a lit candle. The flickering flame cast a soft, warm glow on her face, making her features seem even gentler. "Nights like this can be a little scary, can't they?" I said. "They are, when you're alone," she admitted, stepping into my room and sitting in the chair by the desk. "I'll just stay for a bit, until the power comes back on." In the candlelight, Carol looked different. The soft light smoothed away the years, making her seem more serene, almost ethereal. Outside, the rain lashed against the windows, and every so often, a strong gust of wind would rattle the house. Each time a branch scraped against the glass, Carol would jump, and I'd feel a protective instinct rise in me. "If you're scared, I can come sit in the main room with you," I offered. "No, it's cozier in here," she said quietly. As the hours passed, we talked more freely than ever before. It was as if the darkness gave us permission to be vulnerable. "David, why did you really come all the way out here?" she asked. "You must have friends back in the city." "When I see my friends," I confessed, "all we ever talk about is Susan. It's like I'm trapped in that one story. It just became too hard." "I understand," she said with a sigh. "The people in the village are always trying to set me up with someone. They mean well, but they keep talking about me remarrying." Just then, a massive gust of wind howled outside, shaking the entire inn. Carol gasped and instinctively grabbed my arm. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly. "It just startled me." "It's okay," I said, my voice a little unsteady. "It startled me, too." Her hand remained on my arm. Neither of us made a move to pull away. The candle flame danced, casting our shadows on the wall, making them merge and separate. Our faces were close, then far, in the flickering light. "David," she started, looking directly into my eyes. She seemed about to say something important, but she hesitated. And in that moment, the lights flickered back on, flooding the room with a harsh, bright glare. Carol quickly pulled her hand away and stood up. "Oh, the power's back," she said, her voice flustered. "Well, I should be going." "Carol, wait." But she was already out the door. That night, I couldn't sleep. I could still feel the warmth of her hand on my arm, the weight of the unspoken words that hung in the air between us. The next morning, Carol was gone before I woke up, leaving only a short note on the kitchen table. "Went to the market." She didn't return by lunchtime, and I started to worry. A part of me feared that our closeness the night before had scared her off, that she was avoiding me. She finally came back late in the afternoon, her arms full of grocery bags. I rushed to help her, but she waved me off. "I can manage," she said, her tone cool and distant. At dinner, she barely spoke, finishing her meal quickly and rising from the table. "I'm a bit tired. I think I'll turn in early." For the next few days, it was clear she was deliberately avoiding me. She would change her meal times to not coincide with mine and would quickly disappear if we happened to cross paths in the hallway. After a week of this, I couldn't take it anymore. That evening, after dinner, I knocked on her door. "Carol? Can we talk for a minute?" It took a long time for the door to open. "What is it?" she asked, not meeting my eyes. "Did I do something wrong?" I asked directly. "You've been avoiding me, and I need to know why." She shook her head. "It's not you." "Then what is it?" "Ever since the night of the storm, you've been different." A blush crept up her neck. "That night, that's the problem." "What do you mean?" She finally looked at me, her eyes filled with confusion. "I felt something I shouldn't have," she confessed in a whisper. "What kind of feeling?" "The kind of feeling I haven't had since my husband died. The kind of feeling a woman has for a man." Her confession made my own heart pound in my chest. "Carol," I said, my voice low, "I've been feeling the exact same way." I took a step closer to her. "No, David, we can't," she said, shaking her head. "It's not right." "Why isn't it right?" "Because of our age. Because we've both lost someone. If anything, That means we can understand each other better than anyone else. Carol looked up, her eyes searching mine. And in their depths, I saw the same longing, the same hope that was blooming in my own heart. David, she whispered, are you sure this is a good idea? Let's just take it slow, I said, my voice gentle. No pressure. Let's just see where it goes. That night, we talked for hours, carefully, honestly, laying our hearts bare. It was a precious, fragile beginning. After that conversation, the air between us changed again. There was a new awareness, a delicate dance of caution and curiosity. A simple brush of our hands as she handed me my morning coffee would send a jolt through both of us. When we watched television in the evenings, we were careful to maintain a respectable distance on the sofa. One evening, I noticed Carol seemed unwell. She was coughing, and her face was flushed. Are you feeling all right? I asked. You look a little feverish. I just have some chills, she said, pulling her sweater tighter. I think I'm coming down with something. That night, her cold got much worse. In the early hours of the morning, I heard pained, shallow breathing coming from her room. I knocked softly, but there was no answer. Worried, I carefully opened the door and peeked inside. Carol was curled up under the covers, shivering violently. I touched her forehead, she was burning up. Carol, wake up, I said gently. We need to get you to a doctor. No. I'm okay, she murmured, her voice weak and raspy. I drove into town to the 24-hour pharmacy, got some fever reducer, and spent the rest of the night by her side. I kept a cool, damp cloth on her forehead, changing it whenever it grew warm and helping her sip water. As dawn began to break, her fever finally started to subside. She opened her eyes for a moment and looked at me, a faint smile touching her lips. Thank you, she whispered. I don't know what I would have done if I were alone. Of course, I said softly. Anyone would have done the same. I started to get up, but she reached out and took my hand. Please, she said, her grip surprisingly strong. Just stay a little longer. I couldn't refuse. I sat on the edge of her bed, my hand in hers. You must think I'm a foolish old woman, she said. Why would I ever think that? She squeezed my hand. It's just, when you're sick like this, it feels so good not to be alone. Her words resonated deep in my soul. I knew that feeling all too well. You're that person for me, too, Carol. Really? She asked, her eyes searching mine. I gently brushed a stray strand of hair from her forehead. The heat had mostly gone. You're feeling much better. Yes, she said. Thanks to you. Our eyes met and held. There was something different in her gaze now, something raw and vulnerable. David, I feel so strange, she said. Where does it hurt? She shook her head slowly. It's not that kind of strange. It's my heart. It feels different. Her confession made my own heart quicken its pace. Her hand tightened on mine. How does it feel different? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. When I look at you, she said, her voice clear and honest, my heart starts to beat faster. Her words broke through the last of my reservations. I gently cupped her cheek with my free hand. Mine too, Carol. Mine too. It does? I nodded, and she closed her eyes, a silent invitation. In that moment, everything felt right, everything felt natural. The early morning air was cool, but the room was filled with a palpable warmth. Carol's fever was gone, but she didn't want me to leave. You should go get some sleep, she said, but her hand held fast to mine. My feet felt rooted to the floor. Is it all right if I stay just a little longer? She gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. I sat back down on the edge of the bed, and she laced her fingers through mine, a gesture that now felt completely natural. David, can I be honest with you? She said, her voice soft. Always. She took a deep breath. Ever since you came here, I haven't been afraid of the nights anymore. That simple, heartfelt confession shattered the remaining walls around my heart. I was feeling the very same thing. I brought her hand to my lips and kissed her knuckles gently. I never knew how good it could feel to not be alone again. I saw tears welling up in her eyes. Are we allowed to do this? She whispered. To lean on each other like this? I reached over and tenderly wiped a tear from her cheek. Of course we are. We're not alone anymore. And then, she moved into my arms, resting her head against my chest. The feeling of her there, so warm and real, was both unfamiliar and deeply missed. You're so warm, she murmured. It's been so long since I've felt this. Me too, I said, my voice thick. My body is reacting in ways I thought were long forgotten. She lifted her head and looked into my eyes. All the hesitation was gone, replaced by a quiet certainty. David, can I kiss you? The moment I asked, a warmth bloomed deep inside me, a feeling I thought had been buried for good. Carol, she whispered, her voice barely audible, isn't it strange? To feel this way, at our age. I didn't let her finish. I gently silenced her worries by leaning in and pressing my lips to hers. The touch was soft, hesitant, yet full of a lifetime of unspoken longing. It was a warmth that spread through my entire body, waking every part of me that had been dormant for so long. Carol's arms wrapped around my neck, pulling me closer, asking for a deeper connection. David, she breathed against my mouth, I feel, my whole body is on fire. My hand found its way to the small of her back, tracing gentle circles. She let out a soft sigh and trembled in my arms. Carol, I don't know how much longer I can hold back, I confessed, my voice thick with emotion. I took her hand and placed it over my heart, letting her feel the frantic rhythm. It's beating so fast, and, well, other parts of me are waking up, too. Her eyes widened in surprise, then a shy, beautiful smile spread across her face. So, it really does still happen, even at our age. Of course, it does, I murmured, my voice husky. You're driving me crazy, Carol. I haven't felt like this in. I can't even remember how long. I gently eased her back onto the pillows. Are you sure about this? I asked, needing to hear her say it. No regrets? No regrets, she whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I've missed this feeling so much. My hand gently caressed her face, my thumb tracing the line of her jaw. We'll go slow, I promised. If it's too much, just tell me. Thank you, she breathed. It's just been so long. Moonlight streamed through the window, bathing the room in a soft, silvery glow. In that light, Carol looked more beautiful than I had ever seen her. "I never realized how beautiful you are," I whispered. "Don't," she said, blushing. "I'm embarrassed, this older body." I silenced her with another kiss, deeper this time, more urgent. Her hands moved to my waist, holding me tight. "David," she gasped. "You're so warm." "It's because of you," I said, kissing her forehead. "I never imagined this could happen." "So we're really doing this?" she asked, her voice full of wonder. Her question was all the confirmation I needed. She had opened her heart completely. "Yes," she whispered, as if answering her own question. "I want to be yours." My hands moved to her shoulders, and she closed her eyes, melting deeper into my embrace. "I never thought I could feel like a woman again," she murmured. "And I haven't felt like a man in a very long time," I confessed. Her hands moved up my back, pulling me closer. "David, I don't want to forget this feeling." "Me neither. This is only possible because it's with you, Carol. Can we really handle this?" In that moment, words became unnecessary. We could feel our hearts, our bodies, our very souls connecting on a level beyond speech. I held her closer, and she buried her face in the crook of my neck, letting out a contented sigh. Under the soft moonlight, our two shadows on the wall became one. It was a magical moment, as years of loneliness slowly melted away. The next morning, when the sun rose, we were still wrapped in each other's arms. Carol woke first, her eyes fluttering open to find me watching her. A shy smile touched her lips. "Good morning." "It's a very good morning," I replied. She blushed and pulled the covers up a little higher. "So, last night wasn't a dream." I reached out and tucked a piece of hair behind her ear. "No dream. It was the most beautiful reality." She rested her head on my chest. "You don't regret it?" "Not for a second. Do you?" "Never," she said. "I can't remember the last time I felt this happy." "Really? You mean that?" I leaned my forehead against hers. "I mean it. Meeting you feels like a miracle." A radiant smile lit up her face, a genuinely happy smile that made my heart ache with joy. "So, what now?" she asked softly. "What are we?" I thought for a moment. "We're a couple, I suppose. Real partners." "Can we really think of ourselves that way?" "Absolutely," I said firmly. "We love each other." "Yes," she said, her voice full of wonder. "I love that." Carol got out of bed and opened the window, letting the crisp mountain air fill the room. "I'll go make breakfast. Something special." "I'll help," I said. Working together in the kitchen felt completely natural, as if we'd been doing it for years, a comfortable dance of two people who knew each other's rhythms. "How do you like your eggs?" she asked. "However you make them is perfect for me." She laughed, a beautiful, musical sound, and began to whisk the eggs. Watching her, my chest filled with a warmth that had nothing to do with the morning sun. Sitting across from each other at the breakfast table felt like a new beginning. "This is delicious," I said. Everything tastes better when it's made by someone you love. Someone you love, she repeated the words, savoring them. It doesn't feel strange to say that. It feels wonderful. After breakfast, we sat on the porch with our coffee, the morning sun warming our faces. David, she asked, when are you going back to New York? Well, I said, looking out at the mountains. I don't really have a reason to go back. She turned to me, her eyes wide with surprise. Really? You'd stay here? If you'll have me, I said. Oh, I'll have you, she said, her voice filled with joy. I'd love that more than anything. And so, our new life began. We woke up together every morning and fell asleep in each other's arms every night. I helped her run the inn, greeting guests, and seeing them off together. One day, a visitor asked, "Are you two the owners? A married couple?" We looked at each other and smiled. Something like that, Carol answered, and she reached for my hand. That winter, on the day of the first snowfall, we built a snowman in the front yard. As we worked, Carol looked at me and said, "You've made this house feel so warm, David." "And you, Carol," I replied, "have given me a reason to live again." That night, we sat by the fireplace, wrapped in each other's arms, and made a promise to spend the rest of our lives making each other happy. I'm writing this a year later. Carol and I had a quiet wedding right here at the inn. My son flew in from California to give a toast, and Carol's daughters were there, beaming. The thing I remember most is my son pulling me aside and saying, "Dad, I've never seen you look this happy." We still live here, in this beautiful inn in the mountains. Our days are filled with simple routines, welcoming guests, sharing coffee on the porch, talking for hours. Sometimes, we get a guest who arrives alone, looking lost, and I see a reflection of my former self. We always make sure to offer them a warm cup of tea and a listening ear. Carol said something to me last night that stuck with me. "There's no age limit on love," she said. "You're right," I answered, taking her hand. "There's only the moment you find the courage to let it in." Every night, we still tell each other how grateful we are. "Thank you for being here with me today," one of us will say. It's because of the lonely years we both endured that the happiness we have now feels so incredibly precious. This love we found in the twilight of our lives is deeper and more true than any romance of my youth. As I write this, Carol is sitting across from me, knitting a scarf, the firelight dancing in her hair. And as I revisit these memories, I feel that same thrill, that same spark I felt in the very beginning. Love doesn't care about age. A broken heart can learn to love again. And finding a true partner to walk with through the rest of your days is the most precious gift of all. I have this little inn, and I have Carol to thank for teaching me all of this. Our golden years romance is still unfolding, every single day. The simple act of waking up and seeing her face on the pillow next to me, of having someone to say good night to before I close my eyes. I finally understand that this is what true happiness is. If there's anyone listening to this who finds themselves in a similar place, feeling that their story is over, I want to tell you to have courage. A new love can find you at any age. All it takes is the bravery to open the door to your heart and let it in. Tonight, Carol and I will sit on the porch, watch the stars come out, and share a cup of tea. And that simple, ordinary moment will be, for me, the greatest happiness in the world. Thank you for listening to my story.